Okay, so this is the first video of my directory engine course, how to set up directories within the backend and how to leverage that to be a lead gen mechanism to get businesses coming to you, allow them to claim these listings, and leverage our worker technology to really build out your entire directory from you. So make sure you like and subscribe. All these videos are coming out in order, but basically we're going to walk through on this video on how to actually create the directory itself or the directory website. And then we're going to go through all the additional stuff from setting up your user roles to setting up the actual directory system itself, the worker technology to go out there and get the data for you. And so in this video, we're going to walk through step by step on how to configure one just like this. Now you can build a directory within our platform on any theme that you've imported or anything that we offer. But we also have these directory themes that come preloaded with all the stuff that's needed, the tags and the widgets and everything that's built into the actual directory itself. So first step, I'm going to come over here to templates funnels. Now there's two sections you can build websites within our platform. You can build it under CMS funnels or templates funnels. CMS funnels, that's where you're either starting from a template or maybe you're just building a one-off website that's not really a template. You're not going to use NearMe for it. Doesn't really matter where you build it. And of course, the ones you build in templates funnels can be reused, cloned in the CMS section and leveraged for NearMe deployment and things like that. Doesn't really matter where you build it initially. You can always convert a CMS funnel into a template. Here, I'm just going to start and build from this section. Now, I could have started with the contractor directory because it already has the footer I want, already has pretty much the navigation I want, the logo, all that stuff. And it would have been a lot easier to do it that way. However, for this training video, we're starting from scratch. So I'm going to click on create new funnel. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of the directory themes. Right now I only have one. I'm going to name it lawyers and go ahead and hit clone. This is building out all the assets for the actual website. And in addition to that, setting up all the pages and everything else. So going into the builder, this is where, you could start configuring this. But before I do anything, I always like to put a preview domain on my website. That way I can see it live outside of the builder. Not always everything looks exactly the way it's supposed to look inside the builder compared to what it looks like online, because there's things that we obviously turn off inside the builder so you can edit. And to add a domain to your website, if you haven't watched the videos on how to add a domain to the backend, any domain you install to the backend, you can set up unlimited subdomains with those domains. I like using the domain that's associated with my branding as a subdomain for previews until the site's ready. We also have some preview domains that you can use. In this case, because no one's going to the site yet, I'm going to keep it the same format that I'm doing for all the directories for title. For instance, I'm using a subdomain approach instead of having an individual domain for the directory. And so in this case, I'm doing lawyers. I'm just going to use lawyers.title.io, but I like adding the domain right out of the gate before I start doing anything. And so to do that, I'm going to click on the Pages tab, and then I'm going to click on the Settings icon. Each of these pages have individual settings, right? And so the home page has a global setting. So I'm just going to click on that. You can also get to it from the funnel section. There's an option here. And let me get over here to templates, funnels. You can get to it going into the vertical menu here on the card and clicking into settings. I'll take you right in there. So the first thing I'm going to do, didn't select the workspace. So if you don't know anything about workspaces, don't worry about it. If you do leverage workspaces, this is where you can change it to a workspace. I'm actually using workspaces for this particular account that I'm working in. So I'm going to click on branding. In branding, there should be a little info box there to tell you the format. Not sure why it's taking us so long not to add that. It's still not in there, but basically to add a domain, it's just HTTPS. It's a full domain. I'm doing lawyers.title.io. And as long as your domain's installed in our platform, you can use these subdomains like this freely, and it'll automatically publish your website just like that. Okay, site's live, and we're able to, kind of start by looking at it in a live version. So I like doing that. As you can see, it has all the template stuff in here. Now you notice that I have actual directory listings showing up on this directory. The reason why that's happening is because I already have a live directory that's pulling data and already creating listings and all that. Initially, when you create your directory, it's going to use whatever listings that are in your system. Now we're going to configure this directory to only pull listings for lawyers, and I'll show you how that's all going to work, obviously, throughout this video. So let me go back to the builder. I'm going to walk you through on how to edit this site. So inside the builder, if you're not familiar with our builder, it's all layer driven, which essentially means anything you click on, it's going to come out with this little border and tell you what type of asset or HTML element this is, giving you the ability to edit, right? And so there's a lot of different tabs here for editing, but it's, everything that you click on, if you click on the style tab, any styles you apply to this section are going to be applied to whatever's obviously selected. And so you have all sorts of different options here from, pretty much everything you need to do on a style standpoint. Settings, so every different element that you click on has different settings, different options that show up here that you'll be able to change and manipulate. Layers, so this is a very helpful tab here if you're not leveraging it, if you're using the system. What I mean by that is HTML layers, there could be a lot of layers behind other layers that you can't access to edit. They may have a background image. Now this particular hero, this is an actual image because this is actually a slider that you can set up with this, but this is an actual image. But sometimes there's a background image to a layer that you can't necessarily click on to edit because the layer where your mouse is at is covered up by another layer. A lot of things happen like with images. You can come up to any image in the system and double click on it, and you can swap out an image by double clicking on it. But there may be some animation here that's covering this up. And so this layers tab gives you the ability to access those particular layers that you're not able to access. So in this case, let's just assume there's a layer here and I can't double click on image, meaning see how it's saying image right there? That's because it's telling me that I'm on an image. But sometimes there's a layer that you can't click on. And so come into the layers tab, you can come in here and find the actual layer. That way you know exactly what you're on. You can always use this little eye toggle there so you can know for 100% that you're deleting or removing or you're on that layer that you want to edit. And in the case where you can't double click on the image, you can just click on the settings and then click on replace image. So this layers tool is super helpful just to making sure you're on the same layer, especially if you're going to use our global block system, making sure you're wrapping the global blocks in the right div and collecting all the right layers that you're supposed to have, which again we'll cover later on in this course here. But so again, anything you click on, you have all of your different settings, your styles. Over here, this tab, this is going to be all of your different elements you can drag over to contribute to the theme. In most cases, you won't use a lot of this stuff here unless you're trying to build out your own custom blocks, because this theme has blocks that you're able to use. One, this theme has its own pre-built blocks that you can drag over. But in addition to that, you have all your other blocks that are already built into the theme that you can use, which we're going to kind of walk through what we want for this theme. Next is the code view. So you can click here. Wherever you click will show you the code that's over here. So if you just want to access something, maybe change the style, or you just want to come in here and just change the text from here and you don't want to double click in here and start changing text, you can do that by clicking on the code tab here. And then this right here, this is where if you want to add in your own styles, your own additional scripts, pretty much anything that you want to add into the raw code of the platform, you can do that. This will put it in the head section. This will put in the scripts. And then you can click on the raw HTML and go in here and code directly through here if you like to do that as well. So that's available. And then you have your pages tabs, and then you also have your theme tab. So the theme tab, that's where we're going to start. I am going to start customizing this directory to look the way I want it. And what I'm doing for my theme is I'm trying to do each new directory a different color of the spectrum of the logo here. So I'm going to grab my color codes that I have over here on this other window, and I'm going to set my primary color. Now, of course, you could just use a color picker, but you can also grab your hex codes and drop them in like I'm doing. And this one, oops, there we go. So now I have that. Any theme change you do here. So there's a couple of things here. Any changes that you do, just get familiar with hitting the save changes here. This is where the save button is. There are certain sections within here that you don't have to hit the save. Like if you're working in the code editor and you're applying those changes, just make it a habit to always click save at the end of it. That way you never have to worry about it. More advanced users understand why that. It's just a lot faster sometimes without having to hit the save button. So I'm going to change that color, and I think I want to do a deeper color here for this shadow that happens in the different elements here. I think I'm going to go with just straight black. I think that's what I did with the, did I do that? There we go. With the other one. That may be a little too dark. I'll come back. But anyways, you can play with different colors here. If I want to go maybe a little lighter, I still want to be around that. Maybe that's a little bit better. Yeah. So it just depends on how my image is going to look back here. So I got that set. Now I want to swap out my logo. So I'm going to double click on the image, and I'm going to come out here to my logo. And I know I have a white one here. Yep. There we go. So I'm going to grab that and choose my image. And then next I'm going to go ahead and save this, because you know what? I think I want to do a different, I don't know. Let me say this. I may want to do this one instead. As far as, matter of fact, that would be a good little training thing to swap these out. Show you how to do it. Let me go ahead and save this. So there's a couple things. Obviously, we're going to want to delete. Where's my theme? Oh, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. By the way, if you don't put them all in there, that's what's going to happen. Also, you can also delete that at any point, and it'll take you right back to the original one within there. Evidently, I had a space in there. So even though I was picking it up, it wouldn't show it. So that's if I want the original. I'm not sure until I put my image in of what color overlay I want on this banner. And matter of fact, I want to do a different banner just for the training purposes here. So one thing to note, if you're on a theme where the background of the hero goes behind the navigation, the easiest way to swap this out with these drag and drop blocks is not to delete this first. Because if you delete this, what happens is all of these, so for instance, if I click here, and by the way, I'm on the image. So you'll see that I'm on the image. This is a great example in this particular theme. This image here, this is actually pretty easy to swap out because I can just double click on the image. It's not an actual background image of a div or a style or anything like that. So it's a great example, but this is where I would want to use my layers tab, because that's not the whole block. That's just the image. Even though I'm selecting here, it's not the whole block. I would click here and you can see, look how many layers above that one layer. That's actually the top layer. So I would just click on the whole layer. And again, the easiest way is just to undo it and turn it back on. So you know you have the whole layer. But you can see that everything pushed up. And so now my navigation's on top because this particular theme has an overlay to your hero. So I obviously don't want that, and it makes it very difficult to drag over another block for the hero if your hero stuff is gone and it's all the way up here, right? Because it's behind this particular layer. Now you obviously could do it, you can turn off divs, you can do whatever. The easiest way is just to keep the hero that's there, click on the layers, come over here to the one you want to do, and I want to go with this one. And then you're just going to bring it over. Now you can see how this green line is not all the way to the left and right of this. That's because it's inside that container for that section. So if I go up just a little bit more, you'll see I'm hitting it. So now I am in its own layer, or basically its own section between the hero and that bottom part. That is where you're going to want to drag it. Sometimes it gets a little tricky between the theme, but it's just a lot easier if you just take the right corner and just go right over there until you get that green line from left to right, and then just let it go. Now what I'm going to want to do is go back into my layers panel, and I'm going to go ahead, and if I turn that off, it's going to go all the way back up, right? So if I turn it back on, so I can just select it and then click on delete down here, or again, I can turn it off and then save it and it'll get rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save now. And so this is going to provide me my new hero. Now I'm going to want to change out the image. So this is an example of this particular hero that is not using an actual image like the previous one. This is actually a background image using the Style Manager. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here. And so I have that whole entire section. And then I'm going to click on this little icon here, which is a Style Manager. I'm going to go down here to Decorations, and I'm going to come over here to Background. I'm going to go ahead and click on Background, and you'll see that it disappeared. That's how I know that's the background image and I'm on that layer. Now, sometimes you can get away with a layer above that and applying to it. Not really good. I would say having a different image behind that. It's just too many images, two images loading on the same section. But again, like I said, if you're on that top level layer, like I am here, section, then I can easily access it. But you could see how I clicked on background and it got rid of the image. So now if I click on images, so again, I went to Style, clicked on Decorations. Where Decorations, am I blind? General. Oh, right here, Decoration. But you can toggle these on and off, right, to show more. Then I went to Background and I clicked on Add. And then I clicked on have Image. I click on Images right here. And then I'm going to grab, I already put in several images in here that I was going to try out to see what they look like. By the way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're going to want something at least 1600 pixels wide. You know, if you're going to do a 1920 size image, it doesn't really matter because we're going to set it to cover that whole area. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this image. And you'll see that it came in, but there's like this little area here and all that. If you're on a smaller screen, you won't notice it, but if you're on a bigger screen, you will. So I'm going to select no repeat. I don't want it repeating. And then I'm going to put the position, let's do center top. And then I want the size to cover. All right, so there we go. So now my image is here and it's, you know, covering that whole banner area. Now I may want to do a different image. I'm not sure. I may come back here. Matter of fact, while I'm here, I'm just going to close that image real quick and add another one just to see. I had two that I wanted to try out. Not really digging that one. Mouth's right in the words. So this one works out okay. Who knows? May change it over time, but that's how you change it. So I got everything there, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Save now. On the layers, just want to see if there's any other changes I want to do on that style. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I have my image. By the way, you can always, again, go out. I like going out to the main site and just seeing what it looks like. All right, and so this is, you know, a little smaller hero opposed to this one, which is much larger, but kind of get the picture. I wonder if on a smaller, if it's, let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, so on a larger screen, it looks actually a lot better. I mean, on a normal screen, I'm on a massive monitor, so this actually looks pretty good. It's not bad. I'm gonna go with that one. Okay, so next is just kind of breaking out each one of these sections. Now, of course, what I would use is ChatGPT, obviously. I would take the placeholders that are here, I would copy them, go out to, you know, tell what kind of directory you're doing and get the content that's gonna come back. I'm not gonna bore you with all that. I'm actually gonna do that and come back in the next video. You see all the stuff that I've done. I'm just kind of giving you the bare bones. So what I do is I kind of go through and figure out what blocks I want for the homepage first. So obviously I want this section here. I'll show you some cool little stuff you can do to make ChatGPT even better. You know, as far as doing it this way, or you can do it one by one. Categories, I'm going to keep that. Of course, to discover our latest editions, I'm going to keep that. I don't need this section, so I'm going to delete that. I don't need this section either for this. I'm going to delete that. I'm not sure I want this one or a different. I think I'm going to use this CTA here like I did on the contractor blocks, this or contractor site, this one. I think I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that one over. And you know what? I might put that so you can see how I'd be inside that element. I'm not in that element now, right there. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to delete this. So this is an example of these testimonials. So sometimes in the builder, depending on the theme, we block these testimonials from actually fully animating. That way you can easily, easily come in here and edit them. But you'll see on your live site, those are coming out just fine. Go past all these directory listings. They come out just fine. And so that's the example of that. All right. So that's why I like putting a preview on so you can really see it. I'm actually going to remove the testimonials. I don't need that. I'm going to remove that. And you know what? What did I do on the contractor one? Oh, I put the blog feed in. Okay, yeah, so let's get rid of it. So I'm going to bring the blog feed over. And again, looking for that. So this one's a little bit more trickier. There we go. Now I'm in the, you want that green line going all the way across when you're dragging these blocks over. And I'm going to delete. That's the footer. Get rid of that section. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to swap this logo out. This footer is the light version. So let me grab. Where's it at? Okay, let's go with that one. All right. And we're good for now. Just make sure. I may want to move this section in between. I may come back. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, like I said, I like just going out here and taking a look at everything. So obviously I don't have any blogs associated with this website. That's why there's no blogs coming through. And then of course the directories are showing up because I haven't selected what directory I want to use for this yet. All right, next is these icon section. So when you click on an icon, like I said, there's different settings per each element that you do. So if I click on this and then click on settings, you have an option of changing out whatever icon you want here. Now this particular theme uses Font Awesome, and you can easily use ChatGPT to build this element for you. But manually, again, you just come in here and you change out whatever categories you want in here. Like I said, I'm going to pause the video and you'll come back and see all the categories I do. But you put in whatever you want, whatever lawyer categories, whatever you're doing. Each of these little boxes here have obviously an icon that you can change out, but also this little color here. So if you don't like these colors, click on this little style editor here. You can actually remove. It says BG-1. So a lot of times there's a style associated with this that the theme is pulling in the default colors for that. So you can actually just remove that and it'll pull in your default color, your primary color of whatever you set in the theme section here. Now, you may want to change it to multiple different colors. I believe this theme has all the way up to 30 different background colors. So you can do background 3. You just hit add and they do background BG-3 and hit enter, by the way, whenever you're here, just hit enter. So there's all different colors that you can use from BG all the way up to -20 for this particular theme. So every theme has something a little different and unique that makes it easier. Or you could just get rid of that or not mess with that at all. And you can click on decorations and then click on background and then remove the image. Click there and then click on this for a gradient or click on that for a different color. So you can click on that and then just change whatever color you want to the background. So that's how you can do one off, or you can do, like I said, this particular one has a, let me drop that background off. This has particular colors that you can use. I think this was BG-2 that you can leverage here. Actually, I think that was BG-1. BG-1, enter. Okay. So that's basically the concept. You just got to select a little circle there. You can change the color yourself, or you can use the built-in theme classes. Again, click on the icon and click on settings. I'll let you change out the icon. Now let's say you wanted more of them here than just these 6. Each one of these sections, right, it has a link. You can hit the duplicate and see how I went down there. The reason why I went down there let me go back, is because the layer that I was on wasn't the whole thing. So when I'm clicking on there, I'm clicking on link, right? So I'm on my layer here. I'm down here. So you can use this little up button to get to the next layer. And then that's how you know. So go back over here. I'm going to use that up button, and now I'm there, right? I can actually turn it off and see that it's there. Now I'm going to duplicate it. And there I got another one. All right, so I can add as many as I want here and make the changes. I'm going with 8 categories, as my prime categories. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to build out each of those, of course, editing the text here. Now, if you want to leverage ChatGPT, you could click on this section here, this whole div section here, and go over and click on this little code icon. And you could just copy all this, drop this into ChatGPT, and tell them your category, tell whatever it is, tell the categories that you want. Tell them you're using Font Awesome for icons. They'll obviously pick that up because they'll see it. And pick out an icon that makes the most sense for my category. Explain to them BG1, BG2 for the color backgrounds, to change each color background to a different one that you want. And get the code, provide back all the HTML code, and just drop it back in here and hit apply. That's the easiest way and the fastest way of doing it. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I will be doing when I pause this video, each of these sections. We're not going to worry about the link just yet. So when you click on the link and you click on settings, obviously there's no link to the category. We're going to have to go through that step and show you exactly how to link to categories and how all that works and how all the pages section. It's a whole nother video. Matter of fact, I need to hurry this video up. I just want you to get the kind of basis of designing, within the builder. So on the categories here, same thing. I'm clicking on this link here, but I'm trying to change out that image, right? So if I'm on that link layer, I can't double click on that. It's not changing the image out. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to click on the layer. I'm going to open up that link. Oh, I don't even have to open up the link. You'll see it right here. And like I said, the easiest way to do it is just to turn it off and you'll know you're on the right section. But here's an image right here. And then I just click on settings. I'm going to replace image. So the image I'm going with, each one of these, I think I'm starting with personal injury lawyer. And there's my image. Now, in most cases, you're going to want an image that's, within the size of this particular section. But because each one of these are resizing and zooming in, it doesn't really matter. They'll look just fine. But you're going to want to crop your image. By the way, if you don't know how to crop your images within our system, if you want to use it, you just select an image, you click on edit. This will allow you to resize, which will allow you to change whatever, and then crop, however you want to crop. So you can use File Manager to make your changes. But yeah, so I just basically, again, I clicked on the link. I know I'm not on that layer because it says it's link, it's not image. I'm going to click on layers here. I'm going to go up to the image. I'm on the image now. Click on settings. Place the image. The beauty of this allows you to have really awesome designs with animation and all sorts of cool stuff and still allow you to edit if you know where to find to edit those things. A lot of people get in here and they're like, I can't change this image. I want to change this image. That's the reason why you can't change it, because there's a link layer there. You got to get, in the way this theme is set up, it's using the image as a background above that. So you just click on it, come up to that image. Again, turn it on and off to figure out which one you want. Click on settings, place image, just grab, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, I'm going to put some thought to this and you don't have to be on here for that video. So I'll come back and it'll look all pretty. Okay, so that's that. Next, we'll cover this section. You don't have to do anything here. There's a whole section on how we're going to have to set this setting up. The only thing that you would need to do here, within here, if you want to change out what's shown here, there's a lot of different tags, and then there's a default image. So you'll see that there's no image showing up there because this is actually using the tags within the platform to pull in each listing, but there's actually a default image within there. So what I mean by that is you click on layer, you'll see that there's 2 images. So this sounds confusing, but if you turn this off, it obviously doesn't go anywhere. There's actually an image right there that you're not seeing. And so if you just click on it, it'll bring it in. This is the default image that shows if the directory listing that we're pulling in doesn't have a featured image. So you just basically click on that and then click there, and you can toggle between the two. You're not going to want to mess with this one because obviously that's pulling in dynamically, but you're going to want to pull it in from the default. So you just get there. And like I said, there's no way to get there. It's a hidden div back there. You're not going to be able to get to unless you're in the layers panel. And then you click on settings and then you replace that image. Now I have a default image that I put together just for this. I'll go ahead and choose that. And so that's my default image. Again, it looks a little wonky there because it's not really, it's just two different images in the same layer. And it's there because of the logic that's behind it. I'll have an advanced video to really explain what all this means, which, let me go back to this section here, sorry. There's all sorts of different configuration settings in here and different options on a code level that you can use to manipulate any design that you have in your platform to be powered by a directory. There's also pre-built settings that are in here, from the feed to the categories to the roles for like featured listings and things like that. I'm going to go in detail of this when we start configuring this. Next, I'm going to put a data form in here, right? So in this section here, of course, I'm going to come in here and put a real CTA. I mean, the concept of this is actually to generate leads for lawyers, right? So when it comes to this directory, they can connect with the lawyers. The concept I'm going with this section here, but you'll see this little area right here called data form here. When you click on it, you know you're in it because it says data forms is a wraparound, you know, as far as the element. You can then click on settings. I was already on settings. You saw how it changed, but then you have data forms here. So watch the video on how to create data forms, but you know, you would want to create the data form and then come back into your site, click on here, and then select whatever data form that you want to show up here. I'm actually going to build out a data form specifically for this network. I could use the home improvement one, but there's just too many fields. But anyways, I'm going to build out one specifically for this. Actually, that was a free estimate one here. I'll probably put options for the different lawyers that you have options for and things like that. By the way, the style here on this on this actual form itself, the form is smaller on the actual site itself when you save this. So for instance, if I save this and come back out here, you'll see like the labels are not there. Those types of things, just a little bit smaller than inside the builder. That's why I like having the live URL so you can really see what it's going to look like, you know, out here. By the way, this is the default image I was showing you. I'll show you some cool stuff on the advanced video of how you can actually rotate multiple images here. But you can see how the form's a lot smaller. It hides the label, and so it's a lot better looking on live. But that's it. I mean, that's pretty much easy how you switch out the form. If you ever want to change out a different form, you just click on the little layer there that says data forms. And then just click on settings and change out your data form. You can also use the widget, the drag and drop widget. There's a drag and drop widget for data forms if you want to put it somewhere else. You know, let's say I want it right there. It'll already have, once you drag it over, the little data form div there. Just click on the settings and you can swap out, you know, whatever form you want, you know, within there that you have. So that's it. I mean, really go through. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. When I come back, I'll just kind of give you the concept that I'm doing, and then we'll move to video number 2. Like I said, like and subscribe. That way you can see. Next video, we're going to cover all the navigation, the linking, the working on the interior pages, and just kind of keep going along until we have the site the way we want it. And then we'll start working on configuring the actual directory and everything else. So see you on the next video.